What's going on, world? It's your boy Kuya P. This is NRW Nerds Rule the World, here to do another amazing interview. If you tune into Nerds Rule the World, you know we love entertainment, pop culture, and for me, I'm an actor, I'm a filmmaker. You hear me on WTOP-FM Radio giving my entertainment picks every weekend, so you know I'm all about this. And as you see behind me, or right over here, she's been involved with the industry for so long. She has a book called My PEACOCK Tale, available right now. I'm gonna have the links in the description below, called My PEACOCK Tale: Secrets of an NBC Page. She's been in the industry both behind the camera and in front of the camera. And you know we love that tea, that gossip, those details going on. You're gonna want to pick up this book and you're gonna enjoy this conversation. Let me unpin myself right now. Bring her up on the screen. I'm gonna shoot off some air horns right now, Shelley. You won't hear it. It'll be in post, so I don't deafen you, because I think we're both getting old and we need all of our hearing. Shelley Herman is in the house, y'all. Shelley Herman, My PEACOCK Tale: Secrets of an NBC Page. Thank you so much for your time today, Shelley.
Nerds, my people. I love nerds.
I love it. I love it. Yes, we wear the nerd emblem proudly over here, Shelley. Because there's nothing wrong with that.
I am a total nerd. So this is, I feel at home here. So this is great.
Love it. Yes. So I've caught some snippets. I haven't had the chance to read your beautiful book yet. Looking forward to it. And I'm going to encourage everyone to go scoop it up right now. You know you want to hear all about it. When I talk about the industry all the time here on my channel, Shelley, I always say, number one, for any product or project you love, it takes a village, both behind the camera and in front of the camera. We see grateful. There's a great film out that's getting ready to come out. I just did a review on it, Priscilla. That's amazing. Yeah. With a little bit about Priscilla Presley and her marriage to Elvis. And a lot of people know Elvis's story, but not a lot of people knew Priscilla's side of the story. And you get that with this. It might be a little bit controversial. I'm waiting for the rest of the fans to hear what they're going to think about Priscilla. But as much as we don't act like no one should say that we love the juice. We all love the tea. You know, that's why we have TMZ. Everybody wanted to know the ins and outs of the industry because we all love it as much as we try to act like we don't. That just leads me to your book. I'm sorry, weird segue. I started losing myself. But that's what I know. It
can lead to my book because I got to see Elvis in person.
Yes, I did see that.
And that's what helped me get my job as an NBC page. So yeah, there's a tie in there. So yay. I was really, really lucky that when I was a sales girl at Sears, working in the junior bazaar department, one of the women I worked with, her dad got us 5 tickets to see Elvis in Las Vegas. So we all piled in the car, big girl trip, went to Vegas. And if you saw the Austin Butler movie, it was just like that at the Hilton. Elvis had just started gaining a little bit of weight, so we were kind of surprised to see that. But his voice and his presence and the audience and people were coming to the edge of the stage and bringing him gifts and he wore like a scarf around his neck and he'd lean over and the women would pull the scarf off his neck and he'd pat his brow and they'd have that as their little souvenir. And they did say at the end of the concert, Elvis has left the building. I was really looking forward to that. I got to hear it. But the other 3 girls that I was with ditched the girl that got us the tickets, who was a nerd. And I felt like it was rude to do that to her because she's the one who set the whole weekend up for us. So I hung out with her. We talked about our hopes and dreams. And she mentioned that her dad was a TV repairman. That's how we got the Elvis tickets, because he fixed Elvis's TVs. Wow. And cool. I had said to her, I wanted to be a page at NBC, which is like a hugely coveted job. It's like 16,000 applications are received a year. It's harder to get into Harvard than to become a page. And she mentioned to me that her mother's best friend worked at NBC and that maybe she'd give her a call and recommend me. 2 weeks later, I had the job.
Wow. How did you even become aware of that? So did you have like entertainment aspirations, like going into that? Like, I'm curious if we can rewind it back a little bit even more. Like, because I don't know. I grew up around, I fell in love with entertainment. I'm, I guess newer generation, but like, I'm curious because time periods, like we didn't have the internet back in the day, right? So like, how did you become aware that that was even a thing? Like, I'm so curious.
Well, I went to high school in Agora, California, which was like a one-horse town when I lived there. Now it's very popular. It's right adjacent to Calabasas, which is a big, foo-foo place right now. But one of the guys I went to school with got a bunch of us tickets to see the taping of the Midnight Special, which was a late night rock and roll concert show that was on NBC. So when I went to the taping of the Midnight Special, which, by the way, the people I saw were Gladys Knight and the Pips, B.B. King, and Jim Croce. That's who I got to see when I went there in 1972 or 73. I'm trying to think when it was. So I saw these people standing around in these really ugly polyester uniforms, and they got to listen to rock and roll music, and they were on the job getting paid to do it. And the only experience I had to put on my resume at that point was that I'd been a volunteer usher at a local theater in town. So I thought that was enough to get me in as a page. It took a little bit more. And I don't know if you can see in the background over there, that's my old NBC page uniform, because I stuffed it in my purse when I left.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So you heard about this. So just the industry, you had fallen in love with it. I'm assuming just growing up, you worked at a theater, you were an usher, you said. So this was always your calling, that you wanted to just be involved with the entertainment industry.
I didn't know what else to do. I'm like really bad at math. It just seemed to be the thing that I had an aptitude for. As you can tell, I'm not particularly shy, so it didn't intimidate me to be around that rarefied atmosphere. I mean, when I was a volunteer usher at the local theater in town, I had the VIP row, and I escorted George Burns and Jack Benny to their seats when they went to see Woody Allen do stand-up comedy.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's like Mount Rushmore right there.
That's cool. Awesome. So you already had the confidence and you knew how to handle yourself, despite what, legends, some people get nervous, but you're cool with it. Okay. So you find out about the program, you get involved, you become an NBC page. But were you like a fish out of water? What was that experience like, starting off? And I know you detail it in the book. Again, everybody, My Peacock Tale, Secrets of an NBC Page, go scoop it up. Links below. But you step into it. Was it a fish out of water feeling, or what was that like? Once you finally...
I like the water analogy, because I really did get thrown in the deep end, because at the time there wasn't like a training manual. We just shadowed the other pages who were giving the tours around the building. And I have kind of a trivia brain, hence my nerddom. And I knew a lot of stuff going into it. But the history of NBC Burbank is quite rich, and I really wanted to do it justice. And I needed, you need to know who all the people are, because if you saw somebody walking through the hallway, there was a show that was called CPO Sharky that hadn't quite been on the air yet, but we had to kind of familiarize ourselves with that, because while people might have known Don Rickles walking through the hallway, they didn't know all the other people, Barry Pearl, Peter Isaacson. So, when whoever was ever in the building, I would make it a point to know their backgrounds. I would go to libraries to know who they were. I had a collection up until recently of like about 40 years worth of TV guides, and I would go through them so I was a research nerd and a trivia nerd. So I was really good for that part of the job. I interacted with the public, ushering the TV shows. It's a great job. If anybody wants to apply for it, you can do it online. And what I love about what NBC is doing now is if they like you, they really, really like you, they'll fly you to either New York or Los Angeles on their dime, put you up in a hotel so they can interview you in person. So everyone really has a chance to do this. It's not just people that live in the big cities that have a chance.
Wow. So I love that you did do your due diligence. That just as I think with any as an employer and the people that hire stuff, to people that knows the ins and outs of their jobs and to do that additional effort. It looked like you took it upon yourself because they didn't, like you said, you were kind of a fish out of water. They didn't like have a built-in manual. Hey, look for this person or be aware of this. You took it upon yourself to take the initiative and be prepared and ready. So then I guess that just leads me to what is let's explain Paige for those that don't know. Maybe as a filmmaker, as a producer, PAs, they do everything. I kind of equate it to that in my broad thing. Again, I've never worked at the studio in that level. I've just worked on my own sets and here locally, a little bit different. Can you break down exactly maybe what a page is? It a PA in the traditional sense?
It's not quite a PA. The NBC page training program, it started off as like an executive training program because they really did want to try to keep the young blood within the ranks of NBC. In our case, you had 18 months to try to meet as many people as you could, learn as many aspects of NBC as you could, so that if a job opportunity came up, you'd be prepared. We basically were NBC's ambassadors to the production companies. So we would answer phones, run little errands for people, pick celebrities up at the airport to bring them to the different like press and promotional opportunities they had, to the Rose Bowl, different things like that, so that if a celebrity didn't have an entourage and they were traveling by themselves, we would watch out for them. We would also usher the TV shows, get tickets for people to see TV shows. I mean, most of the people that work as pages are tremendously overqualified, but it's the idea of getting their foot in the door to try to get a job in the entertainment industry that's appealing.
Gotcha. Okay. So like it's the starting rung of the ladder to just, be like an executive at the company, at the studio.
Yeah. Awesome. Or what's also really good is if you get in there and you realize this isn't good for me, you're still learning so many good lessons to take out into the private sector.
Yeah.
It's really the opportunities to meet people and work around people there is just phenomenal. And again, if somebody's even dreaming about it, don't just dream it, do it. Try for it. Go for it.
I love it. I love it. Get that initiative going, y'all. I love it. So with that being said, and as you said, you're behind the scenes. You get to know the little ins and outs, the little quirks, and a little bit of the behind the curtain that sometimes we don't want the world to see. And I'm curious, when this book is a collection of some of those stories. Was there any apprehension of opening that curtain a little bit? Were you nervous with your industry friends, your fellow pages, to do that? Was there any clauses when you took the job with NBC at the time? I'm assuming they maybe have that now. I would assume, for them to better control stuff. Or, do you think, how's the reception been since the book?
Well, there were no non-disclosure agreements when I was there, but also I'm writing something from my opinion, my standpoint. So I'm really okay that way. But some parts of the book, I've collected a lot of stories from the colleagues I worked with at NBC, and two women in particular told me stories about their friendship with Freddie Prinze, who was one of the stars of Chico and the Man. And both of these women hadn't really talked to each other, but I put their stories together for the book, and then they talked to each other. And it really was very cathartic for them because Freddie died by suicide. Both of these women were still haunted by that, and it helped them process it. So when it came time to write that chapter for the book, I sent an email to each of the women and I said, a good journalist never lets the subject of her story read what's being written. Attached, please find what I've written and let me know if it's okay with you, because this book is a love letter to the people I worked with and that magical time at NBC. I wasn't looking to, burn the house down. And to that respect too, everything in the book is true, except I changed the names of a few people because there's some sexy stuff in the book. And it was the 70s and I was single and it was fun. And these people are now married and have kids, and there's no reason why their families have to get the shrapnel from any of that, because they were louses back in the 70s.
I love that. I love that. And that's beautiful. To just show respect to anybody that may be affected. And then just also like you said, different time periods, that is just, it's life. And I'm a proponent of reading banned books and all of that, it's history. You can't change history. And in order to prevent things happening in the future, we have to learn from history. It's all of that.
That's why I included it, because part of this story is we were a bunch of 20 somethings who basically had the keys to the kingdom, running around NBC. And there's so many potholes I wish I hadn't gotten stuck in along the way. I wish somebody had told me. And I wish I would have listened to some of the people who did tell me, like, don't date somebody you work with. That was a pothole. That didn't work out real well.
I love that. Very true. Not going to say I stumbled across that, but but yes, there's a reason why people say that.
Yeah.
So you put the book together. So many amazing experiences are detailed in the book. Again, everybody go pick up the book so you can learn more. So many amazing stories. Was there a particular highlight for you that just put a smile across your face as you rekindled that memory, and you're putting fingers to keyboard or pen to pad?
Fingers to keyboard. First of all, the whole experience in general, because I wrote this during the pandemic, and my page friends and I are still really close. The ones that live here in California, we see each other for each other's birthdays and weddings and our parents' funerals and just all of life's experiences we've shared together for 40 years. And then when Zoom happened and we could reach out to our friends who'd moved out of state, it brought us closer. That's what was so wonderful. But I have been asked if I could do like one day over again as a page. It would be when I was at the 1977 Emmy Awards. And it's detailed in the book, but let's just in brief strokes, I got to pick in a limousine up like my two comedy heroes. Like, when would I've ever had a chance to meet them? I was backstage with John Travolta. He had just accepted an Emmy Award for his girlfriend who had passed away from breast cancer. And he was just sobbing and blubbering. And I had given him some tissue, and he looked up at me, and the tears were just coming down his face. And he like grabbed me around the waist, and he's sobbing. And I looked at him and I said, "You want to get out of here for a while?" So I hid him in one of the dressing rooms so that the press people couldn't talk to him while he was still so raw with emotion. And I stood in front of the door, and people were looking for him. And I was like, I don't know where he is. No, I don't know. But when he was ready and composed himself, he came out of the dressing room, and I walked him down the hallway to meet with the press people. And he kind of gave my hand a little squeeze, and I knew it was all right. So I was very emotional about that too, but little Miss Professional. And just as I thought I could kind of like sit down and put my feet up, my friend Jeff calls me and he says, "Quick, come, I need some help." And I ran outside. Alfred Hitchcock was coming out of his limousine.
Wow.
So I was helping Alfred Hitchcock. And in production work, there's cables backstage and lights and scenery and a million things that you could trip over or hit your head on. And I did not want to be the person who killed Alfred Hitchcock. So I was very carefully holding like half his body weight, taking him backstage. And I had done my senior paper in college on Hitchcock. And I was like dying to talk to him, but I have to maintain that professional attitude. And he looked over at me and he said, "You're doing a very good job." And I looked at him and I said, "I did my senior paper on you. Ask me anything about you." And he kind of gave me kind of an impish smile. And Jeff and I got him backstage and got him to his mark just as the curtains were opening. And we ran off stage, and everybody at the Emmys got to see Alfred Hitchcock.
That is awesome. So cool. Yeah. The industry nerd in me is like freaking out. That's super cool. Like, there's just certain moments to have that connection to legends is so cool. Another, while you're talking, the creative nerd in me light bulb went off. Like, so this started during the pandemic, you said, when you started putting this book together. Was there anything that, was there a light bulb moment that initiated for you to write this? And then what exactly was the process? Did you started outlining first, or did you just start writing, just vomited at the mouth of just your journey? Or did you wanted to hit certain points? I'm curious the creative process. But before that, the light bulb into putting the book together.
The light bulb, I'm still kind of surprised. The light bulb really never went off. It was just kind of a natural extension of seeing my friends on Zoom, and everybody kept saying, somebody ought to write this down, and we ought to write a book. Somebody should write a book, and nobody was stepping up to do it. And I am a member of the Writers Guild as well as the Screen Actors Guild. Primarily, I write game shows. So I hope that gives me even more nerd cred with your listeners. And we can talk about that sometime, because that's a whole other world of things. But I wasn't doing anything else. I didn't want to make sourdough bread all day. And I thought, well, let me try to write up some of these little stories. And then, because we've been telling the same old stories year after year. So I did kind of write them all down. And then a friend of mine was in a writers group on Zoom. And I thought, well, maybe I'll read some of these stories and see if civilians responded to them and not just people in the entertainment industry. And they all just laughed, and they were horrified at the right parts. And I thought, well, maybe there's something here. So a couple of my game show friends have written books with a company named Bear Manor Media, which, for your listeners, that's a great place to go to look for books about the entertainment industry, because that's kind of what they specialize in.
Sweet.
So I reached out to Bear Manor and said, hey, I'm thinking about writing a book, and this is some of my samples. And he was like, yeah, do it. I'll publish it. Wow. So it happened like just that fast. It was fast, meaning like a 2.5-year process.
Wow. That's cool. All right. So you get the green light, or you get the motivation to do it because they're like, yes, we'll do this. We'll publish it. So then, then I guess the process, okay, I want to touch upon this. Did you again, I haven't had the blessing to read the book, and I'm looking forward to it. Do you start from as soon as you became a page, or how does the flow of it? What was the process for you? Okay, I want to, did you outline these specific moments? What was that whole creative process to put
you're so organized. That's so cute. What I did for my sample chapters, I wrote about the trip to Vegas to see Elvis and how I got the job.
Okay.
I wrote a naughty part.
Juicy. Love the juicy.
And then later expanded the chapter about working on the Tonight Show and being around Johnny Carson. And the picture on the cover of the book is what I got to do, Stump the Band, which was one of the page perks. And I really felt honored being included with the small group of pages who've been able to do that. And I just started writing the stories, and then kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, just kind of started putting things together. And it's not all sequential, but it takes place at a certain time frame. But this is like the part that was even more like woo-woo to me, because I'm not a woo-woo person. I'm pretty linear in my thinking. I finished the book, pushed the button, sent it to the publisher, went to my friend's yard sale. And it was the weekend of Queen Elizabeth's funeral. And in the first chapter of the book, after I talk about Elvis, I talk about going to England for a week, because I knew I was going to start a job at NBC. And I figured after that, I'd be working like a dog until I was 65 and wouldn't have time to travel. So I took all the money I had, $550, and went to London for the week. And while watching the Alfred Hitchcock movie Family Plot on the airplane, Pan Am flight, some old guy got up at the back of the plane to use the restroom and fell over and died. And there was such a almost like Three Stooges kind of craziness that was going on there with, the flight attendant asking if there was a doctor on board. Did anyone have a douchebag because they wanted to try to put a tube down his throat to resuscitate him? I mean, it was just crazy with the flickering of the Alfred Hitchcock movie in the background. So I, at that very moment, decided in my life, I'm not going to just work like a crazy person until I die. I'm going to have fun along the way. So it's like a dead man gave me my biggest life lesson. So I'm at the yard sale at my friend Susan's house, and some guy's walking around, and he's very well dressed. He didn't look like he belonged to the yard sale. Very dapper guy. And as we start talking about, oh, it's really a shame about the Queen's funeral. Yeah, wow. I was at the 25th Jubilee. So was I. And the flyover with the airplanes. Oh, wasn't that magnificent? Yes. And he said, I remember it was really hot. And I said, yes, our bus had to stop to get water for people. He goes, so did mine. I said, and we went on about a few other things. And then I said, what flight did you fly home? And he said, Pan Am. And then he said, and a guy died on the plane on the way home. So I'm thinking, oh, this is weird. Okay, why is this happening now? I've just turned my book in. What's going on? Sure enough, he was one of the doctors that when they said, is there a doctor on board? He went to help the older gentleman.
Whoa.
And I had said, yeah, there was another guy, a red-haired guy that was also there. And he said, Dr. Korn. Yes, because I knew the other doctor's name. It was Dr. Korn, Korn. And I looked at him and I said, why is this happening now? I just turned my book in. What's going on here? And then it took me a while to settle into the fact that I had met somebody who was on that exact same flight with me, remembered that we put down in Goose Bay, Labrador for an emergency. He definitely was on my flight. And about 2 weeks later, I called the publisher and I said, stop the presses. I have to write an epilogue to the book. Because what I realized is I had come to a full circle moment. I had started the book this way. I needed to end the book this way. And one of my heroes is the singer-songwriter Harry Chapin. And he has a song that he would sing at the end of his concerts, All My Life's a Circle. And I realized that was my full circle moment. And at that point, any reservations I had about publishing these stories, talking to people about it, that it was all going to be okay. And it's maybe that's what I should be doing.
Love it. Oh, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Cool, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh, surreal. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I have so much more questions and everything. Again, as a person that's in front of the camera behind like yourself and just the industry, because I love this, it's the energy that just fuels me every day. Again, everybody, my Peacock Tale, Secrets of an NBC page, available right now. Links are in the description. Go check it out. I'm going to have Shelley Herman back, y'all, because I got so many questions and just so many, because I'm curious what like the timeline was in like, so you got the green light to, yes, let's do the book. Then how long quick did they want to turn on? Because I'm curious, was there anything that hit the cutting room floor? And then I also kind of feel, I'm sure, like after you've done the book, because like you realized at the end that you wanted to add this new ending, you wanted to bring it full circle at the end. But then I don't know if you're like a nerd creative like me as well, that like you still go back to it. You still like, oh, I forgot to add this, and there's this, and it never ends. But you got to kind of just let it go and let it live and breathe. And you can always maybe do a part 2. So I'd love to have you back to maybe like, is there a Peacock Tale 2? Shelley Herman, thank you so much for your time. I wish I had more time, but again, everybody, my Peacock Tale, Secrets of an NBC page, is out right now. Go get the book, and hopefully by the time we do this other one, I'll have read it and we can expand on some of the juiciness. And,
okay, I will give you a pop quiz.
Yes. So Shelley, I'm gonna have all the links in the description below, but because I live in the DC area, a lot of people listen to my interviews while they're in that in their car on that commute. And I know you have the same kind of traffic in LA. So for those that can remember, you want to throw out like your websites, handles, or anything like that?
Well, the book is also available on Amazon and Shopify, so that makes it easy. And the book is titled My Peacock Tale, Tale, like a story, My Peacock Tale. And the website is also mypeacocktale.com. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, all the places where teenagers hang out. I'm there. And would love to hear from people, especially former pages who are listening to this, because I am collecting more stories. There's so many wonderful things that happen to people because they were NBC pages, and I really do want to share that with people.
I love it. And the nerd in me and the producer in me, I'm like, we have the Peacock app where they have new shows outside of NBC. This would be like a show that could be adapted into something like. There's so many stories that you could do, and they could even mine to just throw love to their own content. It makes sense to turn this into a new series on Peacock.
I'm glad you think that way. I hope other people do too. And I did a book signing at Barnes and Noble in August, and someone asked me, who would I want to play me in a TV version of the book? And I said, me with good lighting.
Let's go. I love that attitude, Shelley. Why not? We can do that. And they could bring like the current time of you actually a nod to the book. Like you're writing your stories, and if they want to, flashback, into the past, they can have their younger actor, but you're brilliant yourself, Shelley. So why not? I love that energy.
Well, if they can CGI Harrison Ford in the latest, Indiana Jones movie, they could take 20 pounds off me and pull my face up a little bit more. And we could do that too.
I'm with that. Just no AI, y'all, because pay your actors right now. I'm SAG-AFTRA as well, Shelley. Pay your actors, y'all. I fear that, but yes, I could totally see My Peacock Tale adaptation on the network, and I would totally tune into that. So many stories and just so many things that they could do to promote their in-house stuff as well. It works. Again, everybody, Shelley Herman, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate you. Would love to have you back. Because we didn't get to game show stuff. There's so many things of you in and out, behind the camera, in front of the camera, that you are a wealth of knowledge that I would love to just mine and learn more. Thank you so much, Shelley. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And nerds rule.
Yes, we do. There you go. Shelley Herman, your boy QEP, Nerds Rule the World.